The following show is a Pod Avenue production. You are cordially invited to have dinner with the King. Pull up a chair and join WWE Hall of Famer Jerry the King Lawler and Glenn Moore. Enjoy.
Welcome to another edition of Dinner with the King. We are sitting here, Glenn Moore and Jerry the King Lawler, WWE Hall of Famer. As always, joining here me for another episode. Sitting here at King Jerry Lawler's Memphis Barbecue Company here in Cordova, Tennessee.
And finally, today you had to bring your Cleveland clothes because it's finally here. What day of December? Or first week of December. It's finally turned off a little cold here in Memphis. It's crazy. We have had like 70 degrees yesterday. Or whatever, like 70-degree weather every single day, and now here in December. So finally, it looks like maybe the cold weather may be creeping in here.
Well, I left Cleveland, and it was almost 60 degrees when I left.
Yeah, but I see this also this week up in Cleveland. You guys may get 20 inches of snow there.
No,
in the snow
it's going to be a trace.
Oh, just a trace now,
trace
right?
of snow. They're going to get like 4 inches way up in the northeast corner by Pennsylvania. And I doubt I'll even get a trace of snow where I live on the west side of Cleveland. But
oh well, a trace of snow. You know what? I'd really like that better than like getting a big snow. Just a little, dusting and actually see it snow around Christmas time. That's fun for me.
Yeah, I don't mind the snow, but.
You can't mind the snow. You live in Cleveland.
Well, as you get older,
if you minded the snow, you wouldn't live in Cleveland.
Well, but as you get older, you start to get sick of it more and more each year. And like, why do I live
sad.
in
A lot
Cleveland?
of things happen. A lot of things you get sick of more and more each year as you get older.
It's like, why do I live in Cleveland?
I'm looking around at my house and saying, why do we decorate so many Christmas trees?
Jeez.
Used to, that was a highlight of my year, decorating the Christmas tree.
Well, there's a couple commercials that came out today for the King Jerry Lawler's Memphis Barbecue Company. Some video spots that are going to be playing through the Memphis area, I believe, but they're available online. And I'm going to start playing these during the show. Not this episode. Maybe I'll play one. I'll sneak it in as like a.
Do I have to pay for it like I do on my own show, my wrestling show?
No.
Now, they didn't just come out. I mean, they've been out for over a month now. I mean, we're already into our second month of the Jerry Lawler's Classic Memphis Wrestling on Channel 30 here in Memphis. You'll love this show. It's all about, it's basically all about the Gilbert family feud that I had for years back in the 80s with Hot Stuff Eddie Gilbert, his dad Tommy, and his brother Dangerous Doug Gilbert. We had some great, went back and found some great stuff. If you remember Eddie Gilbert, you of course remember Eddie Gilbert, right?
Of course, King.
He was one of the founders of, he helped get ECW started when he went up there to Philadelphia. But he was a very, 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 very talented guy. And I thought just a great person and everything. But there was this little quirk about him that he was, and it was flattering for a while, but he was such a huge fan of mine. And I think it created a little dissension in his family because his dad, Tommy, I think his dad expected his son to grow up to be, his number one fan. But he didn't. He grew up to be my number one fan, and I'd had all these matches against his dad. Matter of fact, the first time I ever won the Southern Heavyweight Championship, I beat Tommy Gilbert, Eddie's dad, for the title. And so anyway, he became such a fan that he really tried to emulate my style of wrestling, and the further along in the business he got, it was almost like Jim Carrey trying to do Andy Kaufman. It was like Eddie tried to become me. He wanted to do all of the things that I did in the business. I had the Lawler's Army for a while, and then he came along. He had Eddie Gilbert's Army. I threw fire in the matches sometimes, and then he started doing that, and then of course I was the king, and all of a sudden he got himself a crown and wanted to become the king. So it was back in the 80s. There was this long running feud between the Gilbert family and myself. And then, of course, when he ran over me in the car, his brother Doug was in the car with him. And So we have Doug on the show. And we go back and look at a lot of that footage from back then. It's really good. But anyway, what I guess the point I was getting at was the commercials for the barbecue company started with the very first show. So they've been running over a month now.
Well, I was going to say they came available online for people to view.
Oh, I see.
On YouTube today via the King Jerry Lawler Memphis Barbecue Company YouTube page, and I posted one this morning. Well, Tuesday morning, on our Twitter page. You can follow along. Dinner with King. You can tweet us. Let us know where you're listening for the show, and also if you have any classic Jerry Lawler clips that you want to share, make sure to tag us at Dinner with King, and be sure to give a retweet, because a lot of accounts on Twitter, they post a lot of old school stuff, Jerry. They post a lot of GIFs. What do you say?
Yeah.
GIFs.
Right.
Whatever, however you want to pronounce the term. They post a lot of videos too of old school stuff.
I know. Before we sat down and turned on the microphones, we were talking about that I posted, or somebody posted, and I just retweeted it. A little clip of a GIF or whatever, but a little clip of Bill Dundee and I exchanging a bunch of punches back in the day, and our good buddy Jim Cornette. Jim, he is fun to follow on Twitter, except for his political rants. But Jim, I guess, made a comment about how that was the kind of stuff that drew money back in the day, and then man. I guess that lit up a bunch of current fans, and the great thing about Cornette, boy, he'll go toe to toe with them on Twitter. Usually if somebody says something negative to me, I just ignore it. I don't even answer it. But not Cornette, man. He'll fire on. So I was just reading this long diatribe of all of these of Cornette going back and forth with these I guess newer fans that weren't around when the old school wrestling was happening.
Yeah, the account that posted this GIF, what do you want to call it?
I think it's a GIF.
A GIF, okay. Alan _ Cheap
Let's say it's a GIF.
Alan _ Cheap Shot. He posts a lot of old school Memphis GIFs. So if you are a fan of Memphis wrestling, like I'm sure you are listening to the podcast, Alan _ Cheap Shot posts a lot, and I know you post a lot of you throughout the years, Jerry. These 10-second, 15-second little snippets of little snippets of your career.
Now we've gone from
matches.
GIFs to snippets.
Little snippets of what Jerry the King Lawler was back in his glory years. Memphis.
Well, what it is, this is just some stuff that people can see go back and revisit now on my new TV show on Channel 30.
Hey, did you see the HBO is going to do a documentary on Andre the Giant?
Man, I'm all over it. Yes, of course. They came here to Memphis at my house and went down to my club, and I filmed a lot of stuff for that documentary.
Yeah, it's going to be in the spring. They released a trailer in the past week. It looks amazing.
Oh yeah, I mean you can imagine. And what they did, I guess they went around and found some of the guys and talked to some of the guys that actually had the opportunity to be in the ring and work with Andre, and of course I had a bunch of matches with him, and so that just being with those guys and filming this, and talking and having them tell me about what they had done so far, it is going to be a very amazing documentary. I can't wait for that to come out.
Everybody knows, Jerry, you are not a drinker. You don't smoke. You don't do drugs. You never really were the party guy. You're a guy that would drive back home from a match with McDonald's and the Tribe game on in the car. So you never really, partied, so to speak.
I honestly, I think we talked about that before, yeah. But yeah, listen to the Cleveland Indians game on 1100 AM station there out of Cleveland.
Yeah.
Could barely pick up down here in the South, but thank goodness it was a clear channel, 100,000 watt station. So it got it got way out. And so sometimes I could pick it up. It just depended on the weather or clouds. Sometimes I could pick it up clear as a bell, or sometimes I would really just struggle, straining to listen to play-by-play of the Cleveland Indians night games. And I promise you that I really feel like listening to the Indians has kept me alive over the years, because some of those long late night drives by myself, 200-mile trips from leaving a match before I would get home. If I didn't have the company of the Cleveland Indians, I would have probably fallen asleep more than one time.
Were you? This is just, Jerry and I picked a topic for this week's show. I feel like we're not going to even get to the topic because we want to keep a short episode. I want to talk about Andre the Giant now, but I want to hit on a question. Did you ever listen to Coast AM if the Tribe game came off on TAM? I'm not sure if there was a show back in the day, but I know like George Norrie and it's like the Coast AM show is like all the wackos listen to.
Yes, it was like they were talking about space, like people getting abducted by space aliens and getting probed and things like that. That was the craziest thing. But no, I did listen to it some, or I wouldn't even know about it. But yeah, it was a crazy, wacky show, and it just, what it made me realize was how many goofy people there were out there listening to the radio that would come in with these absurd stories of things that had happened to them and alien encounters and all of this weird stuff and all the space theories and visitors from another planet and everything. Of course, me being a big Superman fan, I had to sort of believe in some of that stuff, but the strange visitor from another planet. But anyway, I did listen to that. But usually, I wasn't a big fan of that. Like after the Indians game was over, I'd try to find a local station that I could tune in and get better reception.
Yeah, Art Bell was the guy that hosted Coast to Coast, and this is from '84 till now. But yeah, I listen to it sometimes now, but I'm curious because it usually comes on around midnight on WTAM 1100 up in Cleveland, and I figured that comes right after a ball game, a Tribe game. So just
is that
curious.
Still on? Is that still on here?
Oh yeah, Coast to Coast is still huge. Yeah, George Norrie, he hosted, and I tune in here and there when I can't sleep at night, and some of the things they talk about, ghosts and aliens coming and just weird people calling in with their experience. It's just it's strange but very interesting, at least for me. All right, I want to talk about Andre the Giant. You want to talk about him a little bit, King?
Okay, sure.
All right, let's talk about Andre the Giant. Our show is going to be about the USWA, and we're going to do like a 2-3 part episode because we don't want to do a full episode about the lawsuit with USWA, why the USWA just stopped doing live shows. But we're going to do that starting next week. So this week, since I brought up Andre the Giant,
You brought up.
I brought up Andre the Giant.
I love to catch grammatical errors.
Well, I have a computer here in front of me, and I'm reading as I talk, reading all these different articles and all the show prep I do. You don't know how the show prep, King. You show up in your Batmobile here with the trumpets blaring and.
I'm not in the Batmobile today. You know better than that.
I know. But you come here, you sit down, I put the microphone in front of you, and we talk. But I do all the behind-the-scenes stuff, all the research. So I have all these notes in front of me, and luckily they're not on paper, so I don't get barbecue sauce on them. But
right.
But I want to talk about Andre the Giant. So we'll talk about him very shortly. But there's 2 questions from fans we want to get into really quickly, and one news tidbit that's notable that we can talk about is Jim Johnston, the music composer for the WWF, WWE for so many years, was quietly released by the WWE. I'm sure you probably...
I'm shocked. I really am shocked.
Really? Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't get to be around. I mean, of course, knew him and saw him hundreds of times, but didn't like hang out with him. And he wasn't a guy that was like at all the shows or anything like that. He worked back in the Connecticut or from home or however he did it. But yeah, no, I'm shocked because the guy has such a track record, such a history. I mean, what are some of the theme songs that he came up with over the years just is amazing.
DX, The Rock, Triple H, Stone Cold Steve Austin, Ultimate Warrior, Chris Jericho, Vince McMahon, Mankind, The Undertaker are just some of the long list of themes that he composed, and they're simple. They're not, today it's all about auto-tune and all these different sound effects, and these were simple rock beats that, are still legendary today and still used by these guys when they make appearances in the WWE.
Man, I hear the John Cena commercial. I hear the John Cena theme in a car commercial now.
Yes.
Have you heard that?
Yes.
I mean, it's not even John Cena's not even in the commercial. It's just a car commercial for some car, and all of a sudden the John Cena music's playing in the background.
Yeah. Well, Jim Johnston just. I'm very shocked. Well, CFO $, whenever the group that makes all the themes now for WWE, all these they all sound the same. It's just
They do.
I think so. Most of them have that poppy kind of theme to it. I'm not really a fan of it, but some themes they do.
And the new company, there's a new company that does it now. It's not one individual. It's something called CFO $?
Yeah, CFO $, is the group, the music group that composes all these themes for WWE. I guess Jim Johnston has done a little bit recently. He did Baron Corbin's theme. I think in The Rock's updated theme.
Well, I mean,
as well.
who knows? I mean, that could be a situation where Jim Johnson wanted to move on to other stuff and everything. But I know that he has been. You can't. I mean, I don't even think you can put a value on how valuable things that a person's entrance theme is. I mean, that's. I really think sometimes it can help make or break an individual.
Oh, absolutely.
And so, yeah, he's been a major player there for a long time. I don't know if it should be saying that they're going to miss him or whatever, but he's made a major contribution up there. I do remember one time though, I think we've talked about too the fact that my entrance music in the WWE is not covered under trademark. It can't be trademarked or anything. It's an old, I don't know how many hundreds of years old Russian march music, and I think they had used it even before for royal sounding music, even before I came along.
Yeah.
And then and it's I don't know, it's called, oh man, I can't even remember what it's called now. It's got really like two different names. I know something about the gate. The Great Gates of Kiev.
Yeah.
But then there's also something about a art gallery or something. I don't know. But anyway, the Great Gates of Kiev, I think, is considered the main name. And they just started using that when I came in there, and then somewhere a few years later, all of a sudden, I get the TV one day and I remember Kevin Dunn says, "King, we got some new music for you, new entrance music."
Oh boy.
And you know what? I was excited at first because I thought, wow, I'm one of those guys that I was there for a long time before I got really any recognition or any I don't know what to call it for certain things. In other words, I was there for years and years and years before I ever had a T-shirt, with my name on it or anything. And I think we talked about the fact, I heard the guys like James Ells showed up and he had a T-shirt like the first week.
Yep.
But I was there for years before they ever made a T-shirt, and I was there for years before they ever thought about coming up with a different theme song for me. So I was excited when they first told me, and I didn't even get to hear it until they played it the night that I was going out, and it was like, oh man, I just was so disappointed. I guess that's like everybody when they hear their music, you either love it or you don't like it, and I didn't like it. So that only lasted 1 week for me. I said, "Can we go back to the old Russian march theme music?" So if you can find it, wonder if you'll be able to find. Can you find anywhere that the entrance music that they used for me that one time?
Oh yeah, I can just
You can?
Oh yeah, I can find a simple YouTube search. I think you used it back in 2011. It was around the time of your WrestleMania match with Michael Cole.
Yeah, and I'd been there since 1993, and all of a sudden they come up with new music for me in 2011.
2011. Well, maybe they wanted to,
freshen me up a little.
Freshen you up for WrestleMania season. That's special.
I think that's exactly what the thought process was behind that.
All right. This is not going to be in the show. I'm just going to. I had it. I listened to it here. Not a fan, King.
No. it kind of tapers off.
Yeah, a little, yeah, tapers off a little bit. So there's Jerry the King Lawler's theme back in 2011.
Wow, that's a first here on the podcast. I'm glad you found that. I didn't even remember that.
Yeah, way back in the days. That's gonna be 7 years ago from your WrestleMania match. Time is flying. But yeah, Jim Johnston, no longer with the WWE. They haven't confirmed it yet, WWE. But
oh my gosh, you mean all of this stuff we're saying is premature and it may not even come to fruition?
Well, Meltzer said it happened. So.
Oh my gosh, Meltzer, of course. He's like, if you read Meltzer, that's the Bible or something. Good grief.
It's a lot of fans, but they haven't come out and denied it, and haven't. I guess a music Twitter account, they tweeted it out too. So, but I think he's Hall of Fame worthy.
Oh, of course.
Yeah.
What would you put him in? What wing of the Hall of Fame?
Well, I think the Ultimate Warrior, before he passed, and he wanted to have like the behind the scenes people be like the Warrior Award before.
Yeah. Oh, okay, that's a good idea.
But the Warrior Award now goes to a person that overcame something huge in their life to succeed, which is great, which is a great cause and a great to give those people recognition. But I think there's a lot of people behind the scenes in WWE over the years that deserve some sort of recognition. I think Jim Johnston is one of those guys, definitely.
Oh well, and if you're going to do that for Jim Johnston, you would have to let Jimmy Hart go in there as well, because man, early on, the first music when the WWE first started using music, Jimmy Hart created so many of those theme songs. Did you know that?
Oh, I knew that, definitely. I knew Jimmy Hart had his hand in a ton of themes throughout the years, definitely. Yeah.
Yeah, man, the earliest ones. I never forget, right here in Memphis, just not far from Jimmy and I both went to Treadwell High School, and our rival high school was a school called Kingsbury that was not far from Treadwell. But Jimmy found a hookup at Kingsbury High School once he was there in the WWE. At Kingsbury High School, they had put in a recording studio there for the kids to learn how to do that sort of musical stuff. And so Jimmy got a hookup where he could go into that recording studio, and that's where he created all of those famous he did the HBK. I mean so many of them Jimmy did right there at Kingsbury High School here in Memphis.
Of course, we did a whole episode about Jerry the King Lawler singing. And
oh yeah,
you guys can go back and listen to that episode of all the King's hits over the years. But yeah, so Jim John. Well, there's one guy that deserves to be in, I think, for WWE over the years that has been a staple. Mark Eaton. I think Mark Eaton deserves to be in the WWE Hall of Fame. What do you think?
Mark Eaton, the infamous timekeeper. Yes, Mark was in there around forever.
And they got rid of him a couple of years ago.
You don't have to say it like that. They got rid of him. They didn't get rid of him.
They future endeavored
him. They parted
him.
ways with him.
They future endeavored him.
Yeah.
Mark Eaton deserves being too. Him and his throws.
Mark's a good guy. You still get a Christmas card from Mark every single year. He's happy, man. Mark's a guy that lives out on like a farm, and he's got all these farm animals and stuff that he's dealing with all the time.
I believe he was on the Stone Cold podcast like a year ago, because we all know Mark Eaton was the man throwing the beers to Stone Cold over the years. Those long tosses. That was Mark.
You're right.
So we got to get Mark Eaton and got to get Jim Johnston in the WWE Hall of Fame somehow, some way. Before we talk about Andre the Giant and your clashes with the Giant, and also just talking about him in general, there's two questions from fans. And really quickly, let's get these questions. Bill in Dallas wants to know, King, what is the strangest request for a booking that you had over the years?
Oh, man. Wow. You know what? That's a tough question. I don't know. So many of my, I'd say probably 99.9% of my requests for bookings are just simply to either come and wrestle or, come and do meet and greet signings, that sort of thing. Just like, I sometimes they turn out to be weird things. I told you I was just in Youngstown, Ohio this past week at the Youngstown Phantom hockey game, and we had a fun little. Basically, all I did was sign autographs and meet and greet people until the halftime or during one of the intermissions of the hockey game. They had me go out on the center ice. They drug this big piece of rug out there, and on the center ice, they had a couple of people with the Phantom jerseys on, and they were going to, since it was so close to my birthday, they were going to have the entire crowd sing "Happy Birthday" to me. So they brought me out there, and they sat me down in a little, metal folding chair, and they said, "King, it's your, the other day was your birthday, so we thought you'd be our honored guest, and we want everybody to sing happy birthday to you." So they had everybody in the building sing happy birthday, and then all of a sudden this other guy comes up, and he's got on a Phantoms jersey as well, and he said they didn't have a cake, they had a pumpkin pie with a candle in it. What? For some reason. Why? Anyway, this guy comes over, and he has a microphone, and he said, it's your birthday, and birthdays are not complete without the honored guest blowing out the candle. And so he's got this pie and with the candle lit, and then he said, excuse me, he said something like, "If at your age you can still muster up enough breath to blow out this candle." And I went, "What?" And so then as I leaned over to blow out the candle, he just dropped it. He dropped the pie straight down onto the floor.
Oh.
And he said, "Do you think you'd be able to bend over and pick that up, old man?"
Oh, no.
Right. And then he said, "I'm not here to celebrate your birthday with all the rest of these idiots." He said, "As a matter of fact," then he used a couple of my old lines. He said, "You're so old, when you were born, the Dead Sea was only sick." And I just thought that's the line I used on Stu and Helen Hart. And then he said, "You're so old, your Social Security number only has 2 digits." That's not funny. And then in the last one, he said, "As a matter of fact, I understand that when you were born, your mother got a ticket for littering."
Oh, that's a good one.
Oh, yeah, that's where it went south right there. So then I snatched the microphone away from the guy, and I said, "Look, no, before that, then after that line, he said, "I'm really just here to show everybody in Youngstown, Ohio, who the best hockey team in this league is." And he pulls off his Phantoms jersey, and underneath he had a Mohegan, or not Mohegan, some city in Michigan, the Lumberjacks. Anyway, he had on a Lumberjacks jersey, which is the Phantoms' main rival. And everybody started booing this guy, and I said, "Whoa, so this is the deal. You're here because you're a Lumberjacks fan." And I said, you weren't invited, nor were any other Lumberjacks fans invited here tonight." And then I went, "Oh, wait a minute. Let me look way down there in the corner of the arena. There is another Lumberjacks fan." And so the guy went, "Where?" And he turns his back to me, and he's still looking all the way down there. And so at that time, I picked up the metal folding chair and blasted him in the back. And he fell to his knees, and then I bent over and picked up the pie and smashed it right in his face. And they fell back, and then they drug him. The mascot and somebody else drug him off the ice on the carpet.
Well,
that was what?
That can't be the strangest thing, though.
Oh no, that's not the strangest thing, but that's just that's some of the kind of things that happen, on certain bookings that I get when I take a booking and I don't know what it's going to be.
Well, do you want to mention the most strange thing that comes to your mind, or is that too obscene for the podcast?
Oh, I know what you're talking about.
Why?
The booking that I got to be a Playboy photographer for a day.
Yeah, with the cyber girl Wendy Cup.
How do you know so much about this?
There's a picture. It says it's very good to be the king.
Oh, and where was that?
Well, it says Jerry the King Lawler thought he's seen it and done it all in his 30-plus years in professional wrestling. Then we called him with a chance to play celebrity photographer for a day.
There you go.
Once on the set in Chicago, we had to help the king off the mat after he caught a glimpse of our model for the day, majestic cyber girl Wendy Cup.
Yeah, that was back at the height of the puppies, era. and all of that sort of stuff. And yeah, they did. They come in. So I went to Chicago, which was then at the time was the headquarters for Playboy magazine, and they had me do a photo shoot. And what they did was they filmed me doing the photo shoot, and they used that. They made a video out of it. I think the video is still available somewhere out there. They had me. They had Jeff Gordon. I think who? No, Sable. No, there was what was the other? I think Jeff Gordon from the NASCAR driver.
Yeah.
And then there was a female. What was her name? Carmen Electra.
Oh wow.
Yeah, Carmen Electra. She was a guest photographer too. So all of these people they put us all they put out a Playboy video of us basically doing a photo shoot.
Yeah, it's very good to be the king. That's the highlight.
Yeah, so you're right. That was probably the strangest request for a booking that I ever had.
Yeah. So another question from a fan.
Yeah. Look, Lauren's sitting at the other table over there. She said, "I wouldn't say that was strange." Yeah, you're right. That's not really strange.
Well, maybe awful.
Yeah, she said that would have been maybe my favorite book of all time. That did turn out to be a lot more fun than just going and wrestling like Bill Dundee or something.
Another question, last question. Arnie in Buffalo, he wants to know, have there ever been any storylines or angles that were thought of behind the scenes that never came to life in front of the camera that maybe would have maybe gotten a big reaction from the fans?
Oh my gosh. I mean, probably that happened all the time in the WWE, and it used to happen. It used to happen with us. One that I can think of recently was the last time the WWE was in Memphis. They'll usually call me up and say, hey, we're going to be at the FedEx Forum, and come over and do some sort of thing with them, and just take advantage of the fact that they're in Memphis, in my home. And so I think what they called me up, the first thing they called me up about, they said, hey, is your club, your bar on Beale Street, is it open? And they just want to know the hours are open. I said, yeah, we open up every day at 11, that sort of thing. And so they said, well, we just got an idea that we were maybe have Sheamus and Cesaro there, and then have a couple of guys. I think it was Seth Rollins and then Dean Ambrose. It was back when they were doing their thing. We're going to have Seth Rollins and Dean Ambrose come in while to your club there while Sheamus and Cesaro are having a drink or something. And then they said, what would you think about some physicality inside your club? And I said, ooh, wow. Let me call my partner and see what he would think about that. But anyway, we finally came to the conclusion that it would be okay, and that would it would be a lot of good publicity for the club. So that was what we were expecting to do. And then when we got there, they changed their mind, and that's when they wound up going out and having the confrontation with Dolph Ziggler. But yeah, so that kind of stuff happens all the time. I mean, where they'll have ideas, and you can imagine when you have I don't know how many guys they have in creative right now, how many people are writing for them.
Yeah.
But I mean, they all have different ideas, and so none of them can all come to fruition. So that kind of stuff happens all the time. The most famous one that I remember back in our territory, back in the day, back in the 70s, was we had gone through all the talks, or I had gone through all the talks with Elvis Presley's father, Vernon Presley, to have a match between Elvis and I at the Mid-South Coliseum, martial arts against wrestling match. Yeah, and of course, I talked to Vernon on two different occasions. He ran it by Elvis. They thought it would be a lot of fun and a great idea, and so it was all scheduled to take place after Elvis got back from his tour. I'll never forget Vernon's one of the last things he said to me. He said, "I'll be honest with you, Jerry. Elvis is not in that great a shape right now, but he's fixing to start working out and getting ready for this tour. And as soon as the tour is over, we'll do this thing." And then of course he never made it to the. So yeah,
can you
that was
imagine?
one.
That would have been like more of a like an Andy. I mean, that the build up for that. I mean, who would have gotten over? Who would have been good guy? I mean, Elvis is loved in Memphis. So are you. I mean, who would have? I mean, how would that been booked? If that would have happened.
Well, that's I've thought about that many times. Like, what would we have done? And I can tell you honestly, we would have done anything that would have made him happy. so, because the great thing with Andy was when Andy came and got involved with wrestling, he knew, I mean, he was just a big fan, and he knew that he was out of his element. So he just turned everything over to us. I mean, just let us guide him through anything. And anything we wanted to do was cool with him. He was just working with wrestling people. But with the Elvis thing, I mean, that I would think that we would have been, it's like Andy wanted to work with us, and in this case, we would have wanted to work with Elvis. So, I mean, I'm sure that we would have anything that would have been okay with him to do is what we would have done.
Could you imagine, King, if you would have given Elvis Presley a pile driver?
Oh yeah, wouldn't that be something?
That would be, there's certain things that happen in of course, everybody's life that, puts them on a different path. And obviously this is before Andy Kaufman even came to the idea of wanting to wrestle and whatnot. I mean, if you would have had that match with Elvis Presley and given him a pile driver, which made headlines across the nation, even the match would have made headlines. Just imagine in late mid 70s where that would have put you on a path to after that.
Yeah, I mean, this was in 1977. This was the same year, that he passed away.
Yeah.
So it's no telling. But you got to realize that. I swear, and it's hard for people to think because they don't even think of that period of time in Elvis's career. It's like after Elvis passed away, he became so much bigger of a deal nationwide and locally than he was when he was, at that time. Yeah, he was still Elvis Presley and he was still a big deal and everything. But I don't know, it wasn't the magnitude of the stardom at that point in time. It was almost like here's a guy that's, I don't want to say fading in his career or anything like that because he was fixing to do another big, almost like a comeback tour. But you just have to know the situation. It probably wouldn't have been as big a deal as we think it would, after he's passed away, as you think it would now. If Elvis hadn't passed away and everything, and we actually did the match, it probably wouldn't have been probably wouldn't have gotten as much coverage as the Andy Kaufman thing did.
Okay.
Because Andy at the time was on the top television show in the country. He was a big deal to everybody nationwide.
Yeah. Well, my parents weren't even together yet when Elvis passed away, so that's gives you an idea of where I'm coming from. But when I hear Elvis Presley, no matter how old he was or what stage of his career is in, I mean that's a huge name. And you're right, even after his death, he still lives on. Graceland and the whole little.
Oh my gosh! I mean, it's a terrible thing. But people I heard somebody say that, like Elvis dying was the best career movie ever made.
Oh God!
I mean, no, that's a horrible thing to say, but the legend and the persona of Elvis Presley grew, unbelievably then.
Did you ever go to Graceland when he was alive?
When he was alive, yeah.
So
But I mean, it was different then. You didn't go to. I mean, that's one of the things that's all changed about it. You couldn't go to Graceland when Elvis was alive.
Well, I'm saying,
unless you were invited in.
Were you
by him
invited?
personally.
Were you invited to hang out with Elvis?
No.
Okay.
I didn't, and I didn't actually meet Elvis. I just talked to his dad. And,
Okay.
I'd seen Vester out at the guard house and all of that sort of stuff,
Right.
but no, never went up and actually saw Elvis.
All right. So,
But it's funny that was the way that whole thing came about was Mickey Poole, this guy that came along and started managing me after Sam Bass was killed in a car accident. Mickey Poole, who I always looked at Mickey as just sort of a goofy, yeah, just a kind of a gopher type guy or something like that, and I just had him to kind of almost carry my bags and just hang out and drive for me on all of these different trips and stuff. So, but then, and one day the way the whole thing came about, one day we were just driving from up to Louisville from Nashville, and Mickey's, I don't know what we talked about. Wouldn't it be cool to, or I was talking about, wouldn't it be cool to have a match with Elvis Presley, because Elvis Presley was really in the news then about karate and doing all this karate. And I think this is when his wife, Priscilla, had kind of, I don't know, I think they had a falling out, and Priscilla, I think, was doing some hanky-panky with one of Elvis's karate teachers. So it was, that was what was in the news back then. And I thought, well, I was telling Mickey Poole, how cool would it be to have a match with Elvis? And just out of the clear blue, he said, well, you know what? If you want, I'll have my brother ask him if he'd want to do that. And I said, what? And he said, yeah, my brother is the president of the Elvis International Fan Club and has been for like 8 years. And hangs out at Graceland all the time. I said, oh, Mickey, you're crazy. And he said, no, really, I'm serious. And he said he talks to all of them all the time.
Wow.
And I thought the guy was just making this up, And then the next day, he says, I talked to my brother. He said he'll run it by. He said he'll talk to Vernon and run it by Elvis and all this sort of stuff. They thought it was a great idea. And I said, you're crazy. And he said, I'm serious. He said, matter of fact. He said, Vernon, I gave him your number, and Vernon Presley's going to call you. And now I'm thinking, now I know this guy's lost his mind, right? And so sure enough, the next day, I leave home, I go to Evansville, Indiana or something. Anyway, when I get home that night, I said, well, you had a phone call earlier today. And I said, who was it? And they said, well, he said it was Vernon Presley. And I said, you're kidding. So anyway, that went on 2 different times. He called and on a wrestling trip. And then finally they gave him the date to specifically call me. And sure enough, he calls up and this, Vernon Presley, and he said that Mickey's brother had run the idea by him and Elvis liked it. And that's when he told me that when he gets back from the tour, we'll put the thing together.
Oh, wow.
So
that would have been great to have that.
Yeah, it would have been great.
to your resume of wrestling Elvis Presley, even no matter what condition he was in, that would have blown. I mean, maybe you're right, not nationally, but the city of Memphis.
You almost said that would have blown the internet up, or that would have blown Twitter up.
That would have blown the tabloids.
There was no such thing as that stuff back then.
And that would have blown the roof off Mid-South Coliseum.
Yeah, right. That would
have been great. So that's like the one match. I mean, notable match that never took place that was discussed behind the scenes. That's like the one match you can recall. Because you wrestled everybody basically. So I mean, even Ric Flair to Hulk Hogan to Andre the Giant. We'll talk to you in a few minutes, talk about in a few minutes. I wish we could talk to Andre, but no. So that's
shovel a flashlight.
So that's the one. That's the one match to answer Arnie's question.
I think so. I can't think of anything other than that comes to mind right off the bat.
But
that kind of stuff does go on, especially in the WWE all the time.
Was there a match in the WWE concerning you or an angle discussed with you that never took place?
Not that I know of.
No. Okay. All right. Well, the reason why I brought up
interesting answer.
Well, I'm just asking. I mean, I know you were a commentator / wrestler. I just didn't know if there was, you had some feuds, Bret Hart, Jake the Snake Roberts, throughout the years. I didn't know if there was something else that was talked about, discussed between you and someone else that never took place, especially in the Attitude Era or even post Attitude Era. No.
Nope. Can't think of it.
All right, so let's get into Andre the Giant. And the reason why I brought up, you not being the party guy is because Andre was known not only for being a spectacle in the ring, but also a guy that could, put down bottles of wine and gallons of beer and be able to lift cars and all these feats of strength when it comes to eating and drinking. Do you have any before we talk about your matches with Andre, did you ever partake in any out of the ring events with Andre the Giant? Like going to dinner or just hanging out with him at all?
No, the only dealings I had with Andre were at the shows, and of course you're right. Everybody did talk about that, but I think that was. I think that was really kind of blown out of proportion as far as back in the 70s. The guys didn't like really go out and party after shows and things like that. Like now, later on in the business, everybody flew to all of the events. Well, then you stayed over. And you got you had a hotel and you had a flight back to wherever you were going the next day. But back in the 70s, that didn't happen. Guys didn't fly anywhere really. All the trips were by car, and so because everything was in a territory and they were out, that was the whole idea of it. You drove to a different town every single night. But they just, he was just such a great guy to be around. So funny, and. You don't think about that when you see the guy, but he had a great sense of humor. As I guess, he would have to develop a great sense of humor over the years, being as big as Andre the Giant was and everything. But he was just a cool guy. Loved to play cards. I never forget, you'd see him and Arnie Skoland up in, up in New York playing cards all the time. And just, just a cool guy.
It's amazing when you hear all the stories. Tim White, referee with WWE for so many years, he tells all these stories about Andre or traveling with him and being kind of like his handler. There's all these different unique stories. But with you, Jerry, you've actually wrestled Andre the Giant. Just obviously, he's a hard guy to move, a hard guy to I'm sure to wrestle with. I mean. What's the mindset going into like a match, or what you're going to do with him when you're wrestling a guy that's, twice your size?
Well, because that's why I say he was such a cool guy, and the fact that you could do anything with him. He could work in the ring, and believe me, it was all up to Andre, and it was whether he liked you or not, or how he wanted to work with you. That was one of the, like I said with Elvis, we would have done anything. We would have done anything he wanted to. Well, when you're in a match with Andre, you do anything he wants to do, because that's the way the match. You couldn't go into business for yourself with Andre because he just was. He was a real legit giant. But I was fortunate in the fact that I felt like, and he always worked with me like he liked me. And so he would just do anything, sell like crazy, get him off his feet. He was easy to work with, actually, because there were just, the typical things that you could do with the guy that big was everything that he did was just impressive because he was so big.
Yeah. And you see all the classic matches he had over the years, and especially with WWE, being involved, WrestleMania 3 with Hulk Hogan, the body slam heard around the world. But that wasn't the first time Andre the Giant was body slammed, though.
And speaking of that was that was just in the news because I guess they tried to blow up the Pontiac Silverdome where that match took place, and with all the explosives and everything they set off, the building still didn't fall. Yeah. And then of course I saw a tweet from Hulk Hogan where he said, "Hey brother, if me body slamming Andre the Giant didn't knock that building down, nothing will. It may stand forever." But I think they did get it on the second try, didn't they?
Especially when it can be used for events, not just sports, but a community. I guess the money to keep it up. And we talked about this in Mid-South Coliseum, how it costs $63,000 a month just to keep it up.
$63,000 a month, they said, yeah.
Just to keep it up there the way it is. That's not even including what events to go on and just all the man hours of. Well, you talked about it before. Was they have to get it up to code for wheelchairs and access to for just handicapped people.
Mm-hmm.
So that would take a lot of money. So all these older buildings, people just don't want to invest money. They just want to tear it down and build a new one.
Yep.
which is
It's sad.
It's sad. But yeah, the Silver Dome.
I'm eating as we speak. I hope you don't mind.
I know you have some barbecue sauce on the top of your lip there, buddy.
Here, man. Let me get that.
Is there an update on the Mid-South Coliseum? Someone posted a photo of the Mid-South Coliseum just passing by.
Oh yeah.
And they tweeted at us. Is there any update?
They had all of these different meetings and all of these rallies and stuff with there's a Coliseum coalition that was a group of people, tons of people that were just trying to save the Coliseum, but by save the Coliseum, they were talking about refurbishing it and reopening it and put it to some sort of use again. But anyway, all of that finally has fallen on deaf ears in the fact that the mayor, Jim Strickland here, just announced just a couple of weeks ago that the official decision is going to mothball the Mid-South Coliseum.
And what does that mean?
I guess just do exactly what's been done with it for the past 20 years. Just let it sit there and deteriorate. Not put any money into it. Not plan on opening it. Just mothball it. Just let it sit there. They're not, and for the moment, they're they're not saying they're going to tear it down.
Right.
It's just going to sit there.
Is there anything that could be done? I mean, I know a brewery wanted to go in there. A brewery or a company that wanted to occupy a space of the building. I saw some news
Oh my gosh,
report.
there's tons of stuff that could be done, but the city just doesn't want to spend. Excuse me. Apparently, they don't spend any money, not even $1, on refurbishing the building and getting it up to code for the Americans with Disabilities Act and all of that sort of stuff. I told you, Dave Brown and I took a tour of the place just a couple months ago, and it really would not, it wouldn't be the astronomical figure that everybody thinks it would be to get this place back up and running. But like I said, I just think that the main problem with reopening it, and I think what Coliseum Coalition people want to happen, they want it reopened and they want it to be used, or at least be able to be used as what it was, as a venue as an arena, so to speak. There's other things that could be done around the concourse and that sort of thing, other businesses that could be put in there, but they still want it to be used as an arena. But there's a contract with the city of Memphis and the FedEx Forum, where the Memphis Grizzlies play, that says no other venue that seats over 5,000 people can be open in Memphis.
Wow.
Yeah. So, that's their sort of monopoly, the FedEx Forum sort of a monopoly there. And so that just unless they could cut it down to, which I think they certainly could, make it the part of the arena that's only seated 4,999 people. Would still be a great size. I mean, that's something that we could use and go back and do some more Memphis wrestling with.
Oh, definitely.
A building of that size. We can't do a local Memphis wrestling show in FedEx Forum that seats 20,000 people. It's just cost prohibitive,
Yeah.
But anyway, that's what we all hope for. But the decision is made to be the Mid-South Coliseum be mothballed.
Now, if a private investor had the money and wanted to spend the money to buy it, or
Speaking of mothballs, have you ever smelled of mothballs?
I have not.
Oh, good.
I mean, is it something I should experience?
You know what mothballs are, right? Those little stinky, smelly things you put in closet.
Yeah.
But there's just an old joke. Almost everybody has smelled a mothball. But I guess that's back in the day. Yeah. And the joke is, you say to, like when I said to you, have you ever smelled mothballs? And you were supposed to say yes. I was going to say, how'd you get their little legs apart?
Kids are asking their parents, what does Jerry mean?
Whoa, come on now, everybody.
Don't worry.
That's not bad. Oh, don't cut this out of the show. A lot of people don't realize, and I didn't realize it either. Glenn cuts a lot of the stuff that we say out of the show.
Not every episode. Not every episode. A little bit here and there. Just rambling conversation. I mean, they're in the vault. They're in the Dinner with the King audio vault.
Oh my gosh! So one day you'll put together a what would that be called?
No, I would never.
The mothball clips.
I would never. No, I would never release anything that you didn't know about. Never. Even after you're...
Well, no, you're cutting out stuff that I didn't know you're cutting out.
No one wants to hear about us talking about McDonald's for a half an hour.
You don't know. They might.
No, absolutely not. If you want to hear... Okay. Well, if you want to hear...
So on last week's show, we talked about McDonald's for a half hour and you cut it out?
I think it was like 15 minutes.
Oh.
Yeah, I was mistaken on what you were saying, and you explained it, but it lasted a little longer. But the audio's in the vault. If anybody wants to listen to it, I can post it. So if you want to hear Jerry talk about McDonald's for 10, 15 minutes, tweet at us at Dinner with King. Maybe I'll post it. I'll post it on our YouTube channel. But if a private person wanted to buy the Mid-South Coliseum and put the money into it, could they do that?
I think so. I think the city would sell it.
Well, the city said they would sell it to you for $1, right?
Yeah.
So could you realistically?
That's what Kevin told me on a plane one time.
So could you realistically buy?
Why can't we reopen the Coliseum? And he said, Jerry, I said the city would sell you that Coliseum for $1. I said, really? He said, yeah, but let me just tell you, it's cost just to keep it closed. It's cost $63,000 a month upkeep. And I went, well, there goes my offer off. My dollar offer is off the board.
But if you bought it for $1, but you had like an investor, that you partner with that had the money that wanted to put the money into revamping it, that could realistically happen though, right?
Well, yeah, you'd have to have a huge bankroll. Because like they said, they're estimating that it would cost between $15 to $20 million just to get it back open. Up and running. Yeah. So that's who would want to.
Well, what's your opinion? Do you want to see it torn down if that's what they're going to do with it, or do you rather see it stand and just deteriorate on its own?
Well, I would honestly, I would rather see it. I just hate to see it torn down and gone. But then, by the same token, just to you can drive by it and see it and see it standing there, and it's almost like a monument or a statue or something. It looks exactly the same as it did when it was open, from the outside. So I guess I would rather see it just be preserved rather than torn down and done away with completely.
Yeah. I'm sure a lot of people would like to see it some kind of resolution
put
to
use,
the
sure, put to use. Yeah, absolutely.
That'd be great. But all right, not a long episode of Dinner with the King here. I know we talked about a whole potpourri of topics, but people love the long episodes. A 2.5 hour episode we did a couple weeks ago is not going to be the regular thing. I'm sorry, people. We're not going to be putting out 2.5 hour podcasts. Maybe for special episodes. No, here and there down the road, but definitely not each and every week. But people do love them, Jerry. They love the longer episodes, but people should not look for that each and every week.
Well, we should put more commercials in them. That would make them longer.
We should. Well, we got Peyton. I saw Peyton was in the, Lawrence.
Peyton was in there eating. Peyton and Jim Blake in there eating barbecue at my barbecue commercials.
And the video for Jerry's Memphis Barbecue Company the video for the commercial is on our Twitter page.
And listen, you got your invitation. We do have something coming up. Lauren, when is that? This Friday? Yeah, this Friday.
Hold on, let me guess.
What?
It's the onesie party.
It's the onesie party. You're right. It starts at 9:00 down at Tokyo Street. So, can you get down here? Can you get a bus and get down here? And I got the perfect onesie for you.
Oh God, what is it?
I'll let you wear my Christmas Story pink bunny outfit.
So it'll be a pink nightmare.
You'll be the pink nightmare this year. Because Lauren has gone out and gotten me he's found me another onesie that I got to wear.
And what are you going to wear?
What is it? How would you describe it? It's like a Santa suit with the chest, with the part, that shows your chest and abs unbuttoned and makes it appear that Santa's all buff and that sort of thing. So I guess that's what I got to wear.
Does Lauren have a onesie for this year?
Lauren, what is your onesie that you're wearing this year?
I'm a little elf.
Oh.
She's a little elf.
So she's Santa's little helper.
It's a little sexy elf? Uh-oh, it's a sexy elf. Oh, boy.
Jeez. Santa's little helper.
Santa's little helper. That's exactly right.
Well, before we get earmuffs.
You know what? We missed it. We already had that. This past Saturday, when I was in Youngstown, they had the Beale Street Christmas Parade, and I wanted to drive the Batmobile in the Christmas parade. And I didn't get to. So next year, I'm definitely going to not schedule anything else other than be at the Beale Street Christmas Parade.
Well, you got also the onesie party, but anything else you doing this weekend? You booked wrestling anywhere, King?
Yeah, we got a little benefit show up in Brownsville, Tennessee, which is not too far from Memphis. Dangerous Doug Gilbert's going to be up there. We're going to be having a little show. I can't remember. This is so bad. Can't remember actually what it's a benefit for. I think it's something to do with the. Oh gosh, who was the guy that was in the with the sang Blue Suede Shoes? Carl Perkins. There you go. Man, my mind wanders. But there's a Carl Perkins Center in Jackson, Tennessee, that helps children and everything, and it's a hospital, and so I think it's a benefit to Carl Perkins Center.
There you go. So King will be in a onesie, but also wrestling this weekend, but not wrestling in the onesie.
I'm not going to wrestle in my onesie, no. However, that might go over well.
That would be a good gimmick. All right, King. Like I said, you can follow the show on Twitter at Dinner with King. Follow us on Spotify, Apple, Stitcher, any podcast device or app. We're on it. Any final words, King?
So we're on Spotify. You know what's cool? I just got me one of those for my birthday. I got one of the little Google, what's it called? A Google Home. Those things are awesome.
So can
you got one of those yet, Glenn?
No, I don't. I'm not. I don't want anything I can listen to when I'm talking about in my house.
That is true. It does listen to everything you say.
Everything.
But anyway, you just you do the Google Home thing, and it can play anything on Spotify.
Well,
so I could just
you could say, "Hey, play Dinner with the King."
Yes, exactly. It's that easy.
Did you try it?
No, but I'm going to now that you say we're on Spotify.
Well, someone posted on Twitter a video a few months ago with their Google device, Google Home device, and they said, "Play Dinner with the King podcast," and then you heard, the podcasts are playing instantly.
Oh, cool! I'm excited.
Maybe you should post a video of you doing that on Twitter. You not post a video? You not post a video, King?
Oh, how did my picture of the Jim Carrey letter? Did you get some response to that?
Did you post it?
I thought it was on there somewhere.
I know you sent it to me, and I posted it with the clip of you talking about it. But
right, you posted it.
No, nope. I posted a little, just a signature. I didn't post the whole letter. You got to post the whole letter.
Why'd you not post the whole letter?
Because I was waiting for you from your official Jerry Lawler account to do it. It's your letter.
Oh, okay. Well,
letter.
you can post. You got a picture of the whole letter, right?
Yeah.
Okay, you can post it. I'd like everybody to see the part where he said working with you was a odyssey or something.
Odyssey.
Yeah.
All right, let's wrap this up before it gets too long again. We'll talk to everybody next week. Be safe for the onesie party, King, and we'll talk to you next week.
The preceding show is a Pod Avenue production.